Yeah, the only thing you can control, the only thing is yourself, is how you react to these, to these events. And I always get back down to, you need to know how to calm yourself, because if you're agitated, there is no way you're going to make good decisions. So you need to know the practical side of how to calm yourself. And I can guarantee that it's a skill, just like any other. It's just that not a lot of people teach us how to do it, and especially if we've had, we were raised by people who were emotionally dysregulated. Well, they taught us the opposite. They taught us how to have a panic attack, but they didn't teach us how to, calm yourself when that happens. And a lot of it is to do with self-talk. But like I said before, self-talk is not enough if you're already in a fight or flight. So then, the physical way of calming down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I have another great guest joining me from, again, outside of Canada. And I'm excited to have Elisa on the podcast. We're going to be talking about her journey. She's got a lot of great stuff to help you with your well-being, your personal development. I have her website up as we're recording, as you can tell. And she's here to help you. And she's got a great story as well. Welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. Can you let everybody know where you are in this big world of ours?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm in New Zealand, Wellington. And so that's the furthest place from, well, not from Canada, from the UK that you can ever get to.
It's good. And so is it tomorrow for you compared to Canada?
Yeah.
Are you ahead of us, right?
Yeah. It's morning one for you. The day after. One for you, I suppose it's afternoon or evening or?
Yeah, it's the evening for me. So yeah, it's like talking to somebody in the future, which is great. So The future looks great because you're there. Everything looks fine. So tomorrow will be awesome because I can tell. So that's good news for me. I love it. And for me, as I'm recording behind you, for those listening to us today, there's musical instruments set up. There's all kinds of stuff in the background. That's my happy place because I love music. So tell us a little bit about your musical background. Let's start with that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've always been interested in music since a young age, but I don't come from a musical family as such. However, I fell in love with writing first little poems, as a kid, but also watching cartoons when I was really young, like 6 years old. I decided that I was going to be a singer because I just loved those little snippets of music that come before a cartoon, or at least they used to do that in Italy, And so I learned all the songs by heart as a kid, and started my vocal training without realizing that's what I was doing. And then I learned guitar, piano, but it took a long time to really. It took until I was 18 to start writing songs as such, rather than short stories or poems. And then I continued to kind of be so obsessed with music that every time I saw a different instrument, I wanted to learn it. And of course, this is not possible, even if you had 24 hours a day to learn the instruments, you would never really master all of them, or even maybe one. I mean, it's a lifetime journey.
Yeah.
So now I've been writing songs for well over 2 decades, and that's my strength, I guess. And then I sing, and I also play piano, guitar, and drums, but to different levels of mastery, of course.
Yeah, and you help people learn music as well, right?
Yeah, so I've got a music school here in New Zealand, and so that's kind of like, basically, I have also teachers that work here to teach adults, but in a kind of a different way, because when I was younger, and I first started learning piano, for example, I had a really terrible teacher who was, very traditional, and just shouted at me, again, do it again, And it really put me off. And so for a long time, actually, I didn't play piano. But then I met an amazing teacher who was exactly the opposite. And this guy was so good that I really ignited my my love of piano and actually made me understand a lot better how to study, how to practice to become, proficient as an instrument, which I think is really important because so many teachers that don't do that. They just kind of take it for granted that you know how to practice, but actually most of us don't know how to practice. Yeah. So that's one thing that I do, but I also have a coaching hypnotherapy business as well. So I help people specialize in musicians, but not only with other personal development issues. Yeah.
Nice. Amazing. Okay. And then on top of all that, if that's not enough, which seems like a lot, right? For a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe doing more. As far as you're also out there helping and you're writing books, you're working on all that as well. Talk a little bit about your author journey. How did all this start for you?
Well, I actually my author journey started because of because of two different reasons. Well, the main reason was that I suffered from performance anxiety, and it was really crippling for many, many years. I would write songs, I would want to share my songs, but then when I went on stage, I felt really nervous, and I was a perfectionist, and I would obsess about what other people are thinking, and of course you can't know that. And if anybody in the middle of a show suddenly went to the bathroom, I'd be like, oh, see, they don't like me, I'm not good enough, that kind of thing. And so I'd have a terrible time every single time. And then basically I got to the point that I almost gave up my music career, so to speak. But then when that happened, I thought I was so miserable. I realized that was not really an option. It was kind of like cutting an arm off, and it was just too painful. So then I really started on this journey of, okay, how do I get better with this? And I tried a bunch of things, beta blockers, acting classes, you name it, drinking tequila before going to sleep. It doesn't really work. So, but then basically, because at the time I already had my business as a hypnotherapist, I asked my colleagues, because I had not dealt with that area with my clients. So I helped my colleagues, and they said, no, absolutely, this can be done, we can help you. So I started this journey on my own with hypnotherapy, and actually it worked. And of course it did. I mean, I seemed surprised. It was my job. But, sometimes you don't apply to yourself the same lessons that, that seem obvious for other people.
Yeah.
And so then when that worked, I thought, okay, I need to share this. And of course, at first I started sharing it with my clients, but then that didn't feel like it was enough because, there's a lot of people as well that might not be able to afford a hypnotherapist. It can be expensive. And so I thought, well, maybe the best way would be to actually write a book about this and offer it as a program, in a free program, so to speak, in the book. Or if people want to kind of, have someone else be their virtual hypnotherapist, if you like, on a course, and still not pay tons and tons of money, maybe that would be an option. So that's how I kind of got into the writing side of things. And at first, I always kind of wanted to write a book because I've always been a writer of short stories and poems and things like that. But, I thought, a book, that's too much, never be able to do it. Actually, decided to do that, and a few years ago now, and I just I decided that because there was another reason for this, which is a personal reason, that basically I kind of got told that I couldn't have kids, and at the time it was a big deal. Like now I'm pretty okay about it, but at the time it was really a big deal. And so one of the things that helped me was to kind of be creative in a different way. I thought, well, maybe I can't have human kids, but maybe I can have paper kids. I can have a book out there.
There you go. Well, yeah, I can tell you that a paper book a paper kid is not going to talk back when they get older. So there's a benefit there. I like that. That's good. That's good. It's amazing. Okay, so when did you actually start writing your book then?
Like I'm really bad with numbers. I actually can't even remember like the date. But I'm pretty sure it was definitely before the pandemic. It was like maybe 2018.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But it didn't take very long. It actually, weirdly, so what I did is that I would wake up earlier every day, just kind of half an hour, an hour earlier. And then I would spend half an hour writing every day, no matter what, for 6 months. And that's how I did it. And so it didn't take too long really to do. But also the other reason why it didn't take too long is that really it was all the real work was done before the book was written. So I just had to kind of assemble everything, all my experience together, all the sessions with my clients to explain what they were about. But those had already happened, 10 years prior. Like it took 10 years to put together this book, even though I didn't know I was putting together a book. I was putting together these sessions and studying the subject area, and then so when it came to writing, it was really easy because I already knew what to write. If that makes sense.
So let's lean on your musical background. What is very similar to writing lyrics for music and then writing a book, and what is the complete opposite? What is completely different? There's no correlation in your mind between music and writing a book. What's the similarities and differences? What do you see?
Well, first of all, it kind of depends whether you're writing a non-fiction book or a fiction book, right? So this was a non-fiction book. So it's very different from writing, a song, because the song is basically a story or a state of mind. And so if you're writing fiction, the similarities are, it's very, very, very similar. Yeah. But if you're writing nonfiction, then it's completely not the same at all.
Yeah.
So I also write, short stories as well. So writing songs and writing short stories. Well, I mean, the similarities are, of course, the fact that you're kind of writing a story in both cases, or at least I write songs. But the difference is that, of course, there's no music to a story, to a fiction story. So the atmosphere, the vibe, all of that needs to be given in a different way. It needs to be written. So you need to kind of weave it in. And it's actually quite complicated, I think it's a real art, and it takes a long time to learn, as much as it takes a long time to learn an instrument, of course.
Yeah.
And I guess in my life, I probably have more experience for writing songs because I've written I don't even know how many, but once I looked at the files and it was definitely 100. So for sure it would be more than that now.
Yeah.
Whereas the stories, I've written maybe, 20, something like that. So obviously I know more about the the musical side of things.
Yeah.
But in fiction, one of the things I found is that I used to think that I was really good at writing fiction until I realized that what I was writing wasn't fiction as such. It was more like an essay. I just I'm very good at writing essays, but that's not the same as writing a story.
Okay. Yeah. There's a difference there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the one thing too about the writing part, I would think, back again to the music side, is in music, when you're writing lyrics, you always have, if you're playing with a band or you have other accompaniment, you can take a break from the lyrics and go into the music. And then there's elements where the lyrics don't have to carry everything. When you write a book, for example, the words have to carry all the meaning. You don't have any supplemental backing track to what you're doing, right? So your words do really count and really matter when you're writing your book, right?
Absolutely. And also, as you say as well, the music can in a song can inform and help you to write the lyrics, because you might be just stuck. You might just close your eyes, listen to the music, start writing down some start working on some automatic writing, just sensory writing. That really helps, where you are focusing on your senses and not on feelings as such or concepts. You're just basically writing what comes into your mind, what you see, hear, feel, can touch, and that can be a really good tool to then like a spring from, to get onto possible other tangents and finding new ideas and all of that. But with writing fiction, I find it's a lot. Yeah, the music. Well, I mean, you could also write a story listening to music, of course. If you wanted that vibe to be part of what you write. But like you say, there's nothing but the words, so you have to be very, very precise.
Yeah, and that music can also be a mood, a tone. There can be rhythm. All that can be worked into when you're writing music. Bringing elements of that into your writing, did you find that you leaned on your musical background at all as you wrote your book?
No, and I would say yes for what I'm writing at the moment.
Yeah,
which is short stories.
Yeah,
but no for when I was writing the nonfiction book.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So let's talk more about this whole fear of being on stage and that stage fright that people experience. I know on my show I have authors that want to turn their book into speaking engagements, and they want to leverage the power of what they've written and get on stage. But the thought of ever standing in front of a group of people, whether it's 5 people or 2,000 people, just petrifies them. They're just so scared that they're not going to, everything's going to fall apart. As soon as I step up there, I'm going to forget my name. I'm going to forget everything. I'm going to fall over. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit about what you're seeing and maybe kind of how you help people with that kind of overwhelm when they get in front of a crowd?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that the anxiety of being seen and putting yourself into out there in a vulnerable position, that anxiety is absolutely normal, and it's evolution. It's got an evolutionary reason to be there. Because as humans, we are social animals, and if we are expelled, so to speak, from the tribe, or used to, when we lived in tribes, then you as human beings on our own, we would be susceptible to a lot of dangers. We might not survive. So that kind of thing is normal. However, when that fear becomes so big that it stops you from putting yourself out there, which is actually something that now we've evolved to do, and it's a requirement almost. If you want to be successful these days, you do have to put yourself out there in some way. So if the fear then it gets so big that it stops you, well, then that's what we need to look at. And that can come, the cause of this, basically as a fear of rejection. And obviously the fear of rejection is kind of linked to the fear of death if you really take it really far. But the thing is, okay, what makes this happen? What makes this be so extreme, right? So there's a couple of things. One is conditioning. And by that, I mean all the things that have happened to you where all the scary situations that your brain has tagged as scary and that have to do with performance, right? So if you had, and when I say performance, I don't just mean getting on stage. It could be when you're a kid, 6 years old, you're in a classroom and the teacher tells you to repeat, the lesson from yesterday, or asks you a question and then you get it wrong and everybody laughs at you, right? Yeah. That kind of thing may seem as an adult, a very small thing that shouldn't really affect you, but in reality, subconsciously, that's not small at all. It's been tagged as dangerous. So then your brain, your amygdala, is trying to protect you all the time. And if the pattern gets matched, because your brain is so constantly scanning for possible dangers, and if there's a match, then you will react as if you were in actual physical danger. You will get into fight or flight, Yeah. So that's one thing. So that's one reason it's conditioning that makes the fight or flight process, the fight or flight mechanism, it causes to basically be activated. Or you also have what, as a hypnotherapist, we call mental rehearsal, which basically is when the word describes it, when you rehearse in your mind how you imagine an event, in this case, a performance, might go. And if the mental rehearsal is negative, so you're always imagining the worst possible scenario and you think about it a lot, that for the brain is no different from the event actually happening. So there's a very, very, very small difference. So, and then there's like MRI scans and studies that have really proven this point. And so basically what happens is that you're reinforcing that negative conditioning even more.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have the negative conditioning, then you're creating negative conditioning, right? So you've got these two, and so this will once again activate the fight or flight response. So the ways that this needs to be resolved is twofold. On one hand, there's like the actual, the cause needs to be dealt with. So there needs to be an untagging, if you like, or process that is done with hypnotherapy very, very successfully. On the other hand, you also have the techniques that can be used in the present to prevent the problem and to deal with actual, panic if and when it happens. So I would first start with the kind of easier approach, which is the idea that basically you need to switch off your sympathetic nervous system and you need to switch off the fight or flight response. And the easiest way to do that is to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system, because the two cannot be on at the same time. So what does that mean? So it means that the easiest technique, the easiest thing you can do to switch it off and to switch on the parasympathetic is there's a couple of things you can do. So one is aerobic exercise. So that means exercise that makes your heart rate go up. So running, dancing, jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks, anything that gets the heart rate going. And you got to get it up there for 5 minutes so that you are discharging the cortisol and the adrenaline out of your body as if you are actually fighting an enemy, because that's what your body thinks is happening.
Yeah.
So then if you do this, then you will then get tired and you will flush out these chemicals. And then diaphragmatic breathing is going to help you to go even deeper into the parasympathetic nervous system. And the diaphragmatic breathing needs to be done for 5 minutes, not less than 5 minutes. And it's something that feels really unnatural if you're having a panic attack, like you're breathing through your mouth and you're breathing really fast, and that's causing all kinds of basically it's hyperventilation, all kinds of symptoms that feel weird, like parched throat, and sometimes the feeling can withdraw. Basically all the blood gets pointed to your heart, and so you may feel various symptoms. So diaphragmatic breathing needs to be done. And how do you do it? You breathe through your nose. You breathe in through your nose, count to 4, hold for a couple of seconds, and then breathe out through your nose for as long as possible. And you do this for 5 minutes until you feel really calm, because this will calm you down. But not if you only do it for like 30 seconds. That's not going to work.
No.
So that's kind of the what you should be doing. It's part of a sort of pre-performance ritual that I've created that can help you before actually going out there. But then on the other hand, there's the cause needs to be dealt with, and also positive mental rehearsal needs to happen to counteract the negative one. And that's basically a cognitive behavior technique that can be used really successfully with hypnotherapy, because you are in an ideal state for learning.
I like that. Yeah, I think it, because I don't think in that moment we tend to, when we're nervous, we're feeling anxious, we're not thinking about how we can de-escalate that, clear our mind, refocus. We're just focused on the fact that I'm overwhelmed, I'm in a strange place, I don't know what I'm doing, and now people are looking at me. Now it's worse, and now there's that awkwardness because I just forgot my lines, I don't know what I'm saying. Now people are uncomfortable listening to me. Now it's even getting more worse, and they just start spiraling from there, right? So being able to do that, that's good. I like this.
Yeah, you need to. The thing is that when you're in fight or flight, it's already too late, in the sense that your prefrontal cortex, which is where rational thinking happens, that's pretty much switched. It's inhibited. It's switched off. See, so being rational doesn't come. It's not possible. If someone says, "Oh, but it's okay, nobody cares," it's like, no, that's not gonna go in until you can calm down physically. Like, if that's what needs to happen before you can start using affirmations and positive language and all of that. Is that right? So the important thing is to kind of know how to do this immediately, like before your performance, your speech, or whatever it is. So that then, like, once it happens, you've already done it a bunch of times, you have rehearsed it, and now you know what the symptoms are, you know what to do if it gets to that point, and also how to prevent it getting to that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then on top of having the book, you also have a course that you built around this as well. That's right. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah. So the Dare to Be Seen course is an online course, and it's based on the book Dare to Be Seen. Yeah. It's basically, the book is divided in two parts. And the first part is about the theory, the background, explaining how this all works, why, what we're doing. And then the second part is very practical. There's 10 sessions of hypnotherapy described in a way that if you want, you can actually record them yourself. But I thought, okay, some people don't have the time. Some people may feel that it's too much for them and they want someone else to do it for them. So I decided, okay, well, I will record these 10 sessions, and pretty much these are the sessions that I would use with a client, one-on-one anyway. So I uploaded that to the course. And so the 10 hypnotherapy sessions are there, but there's also coaching exercises. There's and there's also group coaching calls for people to, have some, maybe they have a question or, some feedback. And so I provide that as well, so that there's no excuse. You have everything there that you need. And if you actually go through the course, you will 100% get better. And this doesn't mean that you won't be nervous ever again, but you will be nervous in a kind of normal way, meaning not exaggerated, in a way that you can cope with.
Yeah, and you'll have the tools to identify it and then be able to work through that by going through the course as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and to actually, over time, lo and behold, actually enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
That will take a time, but you will get there. It is actually possible. Like, if you'd asked me 20 years ago to do an interview like this, oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Really? So it works, is what you're telling me. It works.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Would you say that it's best for someone to read the book in advance of going through the course, or do they do it at the same time? What's your thoughts around that?
Well, it depends what kind of person you are. If you're kind of an analytical type, probably good to read the book so that you then trust the content because you understand what it's all about and why, right? Some people are like that. So for those people, probably read the book. But for people that don't have much time, they just want to get it done now, and they don't really care about the background, the theory, and all that, then the course is just fine. So it depends how deep you want to go and what kind of learner you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, any feedback that you've had back from people through the course, people who have read the book, any kind of comments that have circled back to you that you were like, that's good. I never really thought the book would result in that way for somebody. Any good comments come back?
Well, God, there's quite a lot of different ones. And you see, the thing is that although, I'm a musician and I have experienced performance anxiety as a musician as well as actually like giving interviews and things like that. But there's people that I've been reading the book that are not performers as such. They're people just like normal people like me and you who are maybe, scared of, feel very nervous speaking in an interview, like not this kind of interview, but like a job interview or an audition or even just, like a Zoom call with their colleagues where they have to speak up and they feel extremely, paralyzed in that moment, right? So it's kind of, it's the idea is that it's like the performance is everywhere. It's not just being on a stage. It's whenever, it's helped people that on their everyday life, felt like their voice wasn't, that they wouldn't allow their voice to be heard in general in their lives, right? Yeah. So it's not exactly the answer to your question because I can't remember the specific, comment. But.
So then does it have anything to do with like personality as well? Like personality traits for someone who is maybe more shy, quiet, and introverted? Do they struggle more with this? Or because you think of somebody who's loud, commanding of the room, seems very confident, you'd think that they don't have any type of anxiety about being on stage or being in front of people, but that might not be true, right?
Yeah, that's not always true. Some people kind of overcompensate. They kind of spill their energy everywhere. It's like all or nothing. It's like, okay, I'm so nervous. I just have to speak 100 times, really fast and kind of not leave any time to the audience to actually listen to you. They're not reflecting. And then it can become a performance that's really not in touch with the audience. And so it's not very satisfying for them. So even though the extrovert may present in a different way, the anxiety, it's still there. It's just that it's, instead of kind of shrinking, it's overspilling.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess it can show up in many different places. Like you said, it can show up in your workplace. It could show up for anyone. And I just think it's nice to be able to have a tool that helps you identify it, work through it, and understand it so that you can show up better. And I just I'm curious as well as people go through the course, like what is like the time frame to work through the course? Do you have like a plan, like how long this would be to sign up and go through this?
Yeah, so it depends how you do it. If you do it on your own, like you don't consult with me, you don't ask any questions, and you just go there and read the book and do the course little by little, like one lesson after the other in order. If you did it that way, it would take 10 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Each week there would be a different session to work on, and you would proceed to the second lesson only after you finish week 1. So that's one way of doing it. If you did it this way, it would be very methodical, and it would be for someone who doesn't want to leave anything to chance. Basically, all of the different aspects of performance anxiety are covered there. And so there's you can't miss it. You're definitely going to get results. If you, on the other hand, are someone who has got less time and wants to do it in less time, And then the best way would be to have a call with me to kind of go through what your specific situation is. And by the end of that call, I'll be able to say, look, okay, I think you should do session 3, 4, and 11 or whatever. Sorry, not 11, 10.
Yeah.
And then I would probably give them, most people can get much better and really good results after about 4 to 5 sessions. So half the time, because some aspects wouldn't really apply to them. So there's no point in doing that particular session, Yeah. So it's kind of more pointed to what they need. And so then it would take, 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay. Is there anything that is purposefully not in your book because you don't subscribe to it that might be taught somewhere else on how to deal with anxiety and performance and all that, where you're like, you know what? That I don't really see it that way, or I see it differently than other people. So I'm not including that as a way to address this. Is there anything like that stands out to you?
I guess the only one that I can think of is the obvious kind of answer that you always get if you look online for performance anxiety, and that's about preparation. It's like, yes, of course, preparation is important, but over-preparing is something that a lot of people with performance anxiety will do, right? Including myself, right? Perfectionism. So that it can backfire because your life becomes a misery because you are constantly worried that, oh my God, I need to practice more, And also when it comes down to the actual day, you might be kind of robot-like, you're just doing everything perfect, like an automaton and does not make mistakes. People don't want that,
No.
They want to see who you are. They want to, they want you to embody the song if you're a musician, or the message if you're a speaker, or the character if you're an actor, right? They want to live and experience the message or the song through you. You're the channel. So if as a channel you are not feeling comfortable, and you basically use the coping mechanism of perfectionism to cover that up, then it's like, you come across as not really connecting to the content,
Yeah.
And so therefore you're not really enjoying it, and the audience won't enjoy it either.
Right. And I've seen it show up when I play out with musicians where you can tell they're a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous about what's coming up. And normally they set up in this area of the stage to the right.
Yep.
And then somebody walks up and goes, change of plans. We're going to move everything around and put you over there instead to another direction. And you can tell that that's the last thing they wanted to hear because they've been so worried about performing, remembering other parts, knowing all the things. And now you're moving me to another place I don't feel comfortable. And I have to reset up. And now I feel stress. And now I'm starting to get in my own head and in my own way. And you can see them just shutting down in that moment because something's different outside of what they normally would do. So having these coping skills to be able to understand and move along, a speaker gets on stage and the computer stops working, their slides are gone, and now you have no backup. You have nothing on the screen behind you. What are you going to do? Right? You don't have control over those things.
Yeah, you need to own the content to the point that you can subconsciously deliver it, even if you don't have the this, like you said, the slides or whatever it may be. It's like, but you can only do that if you're relaxed, right? Because if you are not, and if you're like abiding to these rigid ideas of, I have to have this for it to work, then you are not going to be able to adapt, basically.
Yeah. And that actually happened to me myself and my band that I was playing with at the time. We were midway through a song and somebody hit a button somewhere and all the lights on the stage went out and in the room. So it was pitch black. The power was still on, but completely black. And the guitar player stopped playing. The singer stopped singing. But myself on bass and the drummer, we just kept chugging through because we knew our parts and we didn't need to see each other. And I usually practice with my eyes shut when I play my guitar so that I'm not focused on my fingers. So we just played along, and then the lights came back up and we were still playing the same song. And the crowd thought that was like a thing. We're like, no, it wasn't a thing. Everything just went terrible, but we just kept going through.
Yeah.
And
and like something like that happened to me as well once. Like I was at this I was invited to this conference to do a workshop, and the lady basically gave me the wrong information. She said on the phone, she led me to believe that the workshop was like an interactive thing, and it was going to be like an hour of just 20 people, and so I would need to have exercises for everyone and da da da. Then I get there, turns out it's a massive thing. There's like much more than 20 people. There's like, I don't know, 150, I don't know, like loads of people. And it's kind of like a conference where you're not one of the people that, together in a circle, but you're like there on the stage and the podium. And I was like, oh my God, of course it was not ideal. Of course, I had prepared other stuff, but the content, it's something that I already know. So it doesn't matter, but I can still do the job. Yeah. It's not ideal, but I'm not going to fall to pieces Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing about what you do then, is you can help people when a curveball comes, something changes in the plans, and people are faced with a big decision they have to make in the moment. The skills and talents that you have to share with us through the book and the course can help us in those types of situations. Because again, we can't control that. We have no control over that. So how to deal with that, you can teach people. I like that.
Yeah, and the only thing you can control, the only thing is yourself, is how you react to these, to these events. And I always get back down to, you need to know how to calm yourself. Because if you're agitated, there is no way you're going to make good decisions. So you need to know the practical side of how to calm yourself. And I can guarantee that it's a skill, just like any other. It's just that not a lot of people teach us how to do it, and especially if we've had, we were raised by people who were emotionally dysregulated. Well, they taught us the opposite. They taught us how to have a panic attack, but they didn't teach us how to, calm yourself when that happens. And a lot of it is to do with self-talk. But like I said before, self-talk is not enough if you're already in a fight or flight.
Yeah.
So then, the physical way of calming down.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. So take us through the website, take us to where we can sign up for the course and where we can buy the book. We'd love to send a lot of people your way. I know people that are looking on getting on stage, TED Talks, all those things, and they have no speaking experience, and they're starting from zero, and they're looking for an expert to help them. So here you are right here, ready to help people. So where do we go to get the book and connect with you about the course?
So to get the book, basically everywhere on the internet, you can get the book. There to be seen, you just type that and you'll get it on Amazon, you'll get it in other places, other booksellers. And you can also get it on like a paper copy in your bookshop. You can order it and it will be sent to you. But if you want to do the course, and by the way, there's like one session is free to kind of try it and see if it's for you. So you can find that on my website, elisadinapoli.com, and there's basically a tab that says performance courses, and you just go there. However, probably a really good introduction if you want a practical, if you want to go a bit more into the detail of what I was talking about before, like the pre-performance ritual and all of that. I have a free masterclass that I offer, and basically you just go to my site, elisadinapoli.com/chapter, and you'll find the masterclass there. And and do not hesitate to get in touch if you want to know more. My email is info@elisadinapoli.com. So it's really easy to find me.
I like it. I typed chapter. I'm right on the page right now. Perform with confidence without having to be an extrovert. We kind of talked about that a little bit here in our conversation, and it's right there. I love it. So that's very kind of you to offer that to the listeners as well. And I'm excited to have you in. So, okay, before we go, I got to ask, where can we find your music? Where can we fall in love with you and all the things you do music-wise? I'm going to put a link in that in the show notes as well. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a different name, and there's a whole story around that. It's connected to the performance anxiety stuff. So it's elisavulpes.com, and that's spelled ELYSSA, Elisa, and then Vulpes altogether, VULPES. Vulpes means fox in Latin, and it's a family name from my mother's side. Nice. So elisavulpes.com. And even if you just write Elisa Vulpes, you again will get a bunch of links from Spotify and Apple Music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But the best is my website, because then you will get, if you sign up to my mailing list, then you'll get free songs, and then you'll be the first person to get the new singles coming out. And this year I've got 2 really good singles coming out shortly. So it's the best ways to just sign up for the mailing list.
I love it. Great. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for helping all of us to be a little more effective when we speak, when we're confident when we get up on stage, because we've written a great book. We want to tell people about it, but we don't want to be so bound by fear about getting in front of people to talk about it. And the fact that you can help us with that is amazing. So, and as a fellow musician, I just love talking music with people. So it's been a lot of fun to chat with you. And again, thank you for creating something special for the audience as well, so they can follow up with you and sign up.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure.
Amazing. Okay, everyone, all the information, including the links we mentioned, are all going to be in the show notes. I'd love for you to go and check it out. Sign up today. Get on there right away and be a part of the course and get some confidence behind you. And you can do this. You can perform with confidence. It's right there. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here and being part of our podcast community. LivingTheNextChapter.com is our website. I have an offer for you as an author, if you're listening, and you're wanting to build your website for your book. I've had so many authors come on and they're struggling in this area. I'd love to help you. All of the websites that I built for my different podcasts, I have experience, and I'd love to help you and get you up and running. I can help you with your domain purchase. I can help you with setting up your podcast, making it really simple. And if you love Canva, we can even set it up on Canva for you, and you can do all your own maintenance. You don't need to hire anybody. We'll help you get set up. So if that interests you as an author and you want a website for your book, let me know. We can do this. I can help you. LivingTheNextChapter.com is the website for the podcast. You can find me there. I'd love to help you. Reach out. Let me know if I can be of assistance in any way. And thank you again for listening to Living the Next Chapter. Today is where your book begins. Thanks for listening.